Hey there. So, tell me this. Have you ever been in a situation where you wanted to talk to someone, but you just froze? Maybe it was at a party, a work event, or even just standing in line at a coffee shop. You know you want to say something, but your mind goes blank, your palms get sweaty, and suddenly, you're overthinking every single word before it even leaves your mouth. Sound familiar? Well, guess what? You're not alone. Starting a conversation, especially when you're shy or introverted, can feel like climbing Mount Everest. But here's the good news. It doesn't have to be that hard. In fact, with a few simple tips and tricks, you can become a pro at breaking the ice and keeping the conversation flowing, no matter who you're talking to. That's exactly what we're diving into today. So, if you're ready to stop feeling awkward, start feeling confident, and finally master the art of starting a conversation, stick around. Trust me, by the end of this video, you'll have everything you need to walk up to anyone and strike up a chat like it's no big deal. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty, let me give you a quick overview of what we'll be covering. First, we'll talk about why starting a conversation feels so hard, because understanding the problem is half the battle. Then, I'll share my top 5 easy conversation starters that work in almost any situation. After that, we'll dive into how to keep the conversation going so you don't run out of things to say. And finally, I'll give you some bonus tips for overcoming shyness and building confidence. Sounds good? Awesome. Let's get started. Okay, let's start by addressing the elephant in the room. Why is starting a conversation so dang hard? I mean, it's just talking, right? Well, not exactly. For most of us, it's not just about the words. It's about the fear behind them. Here's the thing. When you're about to start a conversation, your brain goes into overdrive. It starts asking all these questions like, what if I say something weird? What if they don't like me? What if there's an awkward silence? And before you know it, you're so caught up in your own head that you end up saying nothing at all. But here's the truth. Most of those fears are totally unfounded. The person you're talking to, they're probably just as nervous as you are. Seriously, most people are so focused on themselves that they're not even judging you the way you think they are. Another reason starting a conversation feels hard is that we put way too much pressure on ourselves to be perfect. We think every conversation has to be deep, meaningful, or super witty. But guess what? Most conversations are just casual. They're about connecting, not impressing. So, the first step to getting better at this is to relax. Take the pressure off yourself. Remember, the goal isn't to be perfect, it's to be present. And once you shift your mindset, everything else becomes a whole lot easier. All right, now that we've tackled the why, let's get into the how. Here are my top 5 easy conversation starters that work in almost any situation. These are simple, low pressure, and designed to help you break the ice without breaking a sweat. 1. The observation starter. This one's a classic. All you do is comment on something in your environment. For example, if you're at a coffee shop, you could say, this place always has the best latte art. Have you tried their cappuccino? Or if you're at an event, you could say, I love the music they're playing. Do you know the band? It's easy, natural, and gives the other person an easy way to jump in. 2. The compliment starter. Who doesn't love a genuine compliment? If you notice something you genuinely like about someone, their outfit, their smile, their energy, just say it. For example, I love your jacket. Where did you get it? Or, you have such a great laugh. It's so contagious. Just make sure it's sincere. People can tell when you're being fake. 3. The question starter. Asking a question is one of the easiest ways to get someone talking. And the best part? You don't have to overthink it. Simple questions like, what brings you here today? Or, how do you know the host? Can open up a whole conversation. Just make sure it's open-ended, so they have room to elaborate. 4. The common ground starter. If you're in a situation where you already have something in common with the other person, like being at the same event or working in the same industry, use that as a starting point. For example, I noticed you're in the tech industry too. What's your favorite part about it? Or, this is my first time at this event. Have you been before? 5. The helpful starter. If all else fails, offer to help. People love when you're thoughtful. For example, if someone looks lost, you could say, hey, are you looking for something? I might be able to help. Or if someone's carrying a lot of stuff, you could say, need a hand with that. It's a great way to show kindness and start a conversation at the same time. So, those are my top 5 go-to conversation starters. But remember, The key is to keep it natural. Don't overthink it. Just pick one and go for it. And if it doesn't land perfectly, that's okay. The goal is to start the conversation, not to be perfect. Now, let's say you've broken the ice. Awesome. But what happens next? How do you keep the conversation going without it fizzling out? This is where a lot of people get stuck, so let's talk about it. The secret to keeping a conversation going is active listening. Instead of focusing on what you're going to say next, really pay attention to what the other person is saying. Look for cues or topics you can expand on. For example, if they mention they love hiking, you could ask, "What's the best trail you've ever been on?" Or, "Do you have any tips for someone who's just getting into hiking?" Another tip is to ask follow-up questions. These show that you're interested and engaged. For example, if they say they just got back from a trip, you could ask, "What was your favorite part of the trip?" Or, "Would you recommend it to someone else?" And finally, don't be afraid to share a little about yourself. Conversations are a two-way street. So if they ask you a question, answer honestly and add a little detail. For example, if they ask, "Do you like traveling?" Instead of just saying, "Yeah," you could say, "I do. I actually just got back from a trip to Italy, and it was amazing. Have you ever been?" The key is to keep it balanced. Ask questions, listen, and share. And if there's a lull in the conversation, don't panic. Silence isn't always awkward. It can be a natural pause. Just take a breath, smile, and pick up where you left off. All right, we've covered a lot so far. Why starting a conversation feels hard, my top 5 conversation starters, and how to keep the conversation flowing. But before we wrap up, I've got some bonus tips for overcoming shyness and building confidence that I think you're really going to love. So I'll be letting out this bonus tip in the second part of this video. So, if you're ready to take your social skills to the next level, don't go anywhere. We've got more to cover, and trust me, you don't want to miss it. In the meantime, let me know in the comments, what's your go-to conversation starter? Or, if you've ever had a conversation that went really well or really awkward, I'd love to hear about it. Let's keep the conversation going down below. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more tips. Remember, I'll be giving out the bonus tip for overcoming shyness and building confidence in my next video, so make sure to turn on that notification bell so you'll be among the first people to grab on this bonus. Improving your social skills, relationships, and confidence has never been this simple. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.